There is a massive lie that society has programmed into your brain since you were a child. You have been told that quitting is for losers. You have been conditioned to believe that a truly strong man endures everything. He takes the disrespect. He stays in the failing relationship. He argues his point until he is out of breath, and he fights endless battles just to prove he is right. But I want you to stop and think for a second. Look around you at the men who live by this rule. Are they powerful? Or are they exhausted, frustrated, and completely drained of their vital energy? Here is the brutal truth that only the top 1% of men understand. True power does not come from your ability to endure unnecessary pain. Your greatest growth, your ultimate leverage, and your absolute power begin the exact moment you decide to walk away. Walking away is not a weakness. It is the most terrifying display of self-control and psychological dominance a man can execute. But it requires a level of mental superiority that the average man simply does not possess. Tell me in the comments down below right now, what is the one situation, job, or relationship you stayed in way too long just because of your pride? Modern men are trapped in an endless cycle of trying to prove their worth to people who do not even respect them. We live in a noisy, hyper-connected world where everyone demands a reaction from you. Your boss pushes your boundaries. Your partner tests your patience with emotional chaos. Society tries to drag you into meaningless debates and outrage. The default response of the modern male is to engage. He steps into the arena, puts up his fists, and fights a battle that was rigged against him from the start. He wastes his focus, his time, and his emotional capital trying to fix things that are fundamentally broken. But every time you react, every time you stay in a room where you are not valued, you hand over your personal power on a silver platter. You become a slave to external circumstances. The modern application of true mental toughness is not about building thicker skin so you can take more abuse. It is about developing the vision to see when a situation is beneath you and having the ruthless discipline to detach. It is about understanding that your presence is the highest currency you own. Today, we are going completely off the standard script. No ancient history lessons. No outdated philosophy. We are talking about raw, modern, elite psychological strategy. You are going to learn exactly how to build an impenetrable fortress around your mind by mastering the art of the exit. The trap of false resilience. There is a dangerous myth that has infected the minds of modern men, tricking them into remaining weak. Society tells you that endurance is the ultimate measure of your masculinity. You are taught that a strong man takes the hits, stands his ground in a toxic environment, and fights until the bitter end. But here is the brutal reality. Staying in a situation that constantly drains you is not a sign of mental toughness. It is a sign of a massive lack of self-respect. True Stoic power is not about being a punching bag for a chaotic world. It is about recognizing what is worthy of your energy and what is a complete waste of your time. The average man confuses stubbornness with strength. He stays in a dead-end job, a draining relationship, or an endless argument because his ego refuses to let him walk away. He falsely believes that leaving means he has lost the game. But what the elite man understands is that endurance without a logical purpose is just slow, agonizing self-destruction. Real growth begins the moment you realize that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee for everyone who demands it. You must stop trying to prove your strength to people who do not matter. The very first step to emotional mastery is learning to pack up and leave when the table no longer serves your higher purpose. Walking away is not surrender. It is the ultimate reclamation of your own power. Creating the vacuum. Growth requires empty space. Think about a glass that is already full of muddy water. No matter how much clean, pure water you try to pour into it, the glass cannot hold it. The clean water just spills over the edges and goes to waste. Your life operates on the exact same physical principle. If your days are filled with toxic people, stressful obligations, and low-value arguments, there is absolutely zero room for high-value opportunities to enter your life. Walking away creates a vacuum. It creates an empty space. And this is exactly where the average man panics. The average man is absolutely terrified of the void. He would rather hold on to a destructive relationship than face the silence of an empty apartment. He rushes to fill the void with cheap dopamine, bad habits, or by crawling back to the toxic situation he just left. But the man who operates on a higher level embraces this emptiness. He knows that nature abhors a vacuum. When you clear out the garbage, the universe naturally rushes to fill that space with something else. By creating that void, you provide the fertile ground required to build your empire. You cannot attract greatness while you are still holding hands with mediocrity. Let the void terrify you. Let it challenge you, and then use it to rebuild yourself from the ground up. Severing the emotional anchor. Physical distance is completely useless if you do not master emotional detachment. You can pack your bags, move to a different city, and cut all contact. But if you are still constantly checking their social media or replaying the arguments in your head, you have not truly walked away. They still own you. They are living completely rent-free inside your mind. The elite strategy is not just removing your physical body from the room, it is severing the emotional anchor completely. This means walking away without anger, without bitterness, and without the need for revenge. Anger is a profound emotional investment. If you are angry, it means you still care about their opinion. It means they still have their hands on your internal control panel. The ultimate flex of mental superiority is absolute indifference. It is the cold, calculated realization that this person, or this situation, no longer exists in your reality. You pull your emotional energy back into your own core. When you do this correctly, it feels like cutting a heavy chain that has been dragging you down for years. You do not hate them. You do not wish them harm. You simply do not care anymore. That level of detachment is a superpower that makes you virtually untouchable. Why your ego wants you to stay. Your biggest enemy in the pursuit of personal growth is not the toxic person or the terrible job. Your biggest enemy is your own unchecked ego. The ego is obsessed with winning arguments. The ego wants to have the final word. The ego desperately needs the other person to admit that they were wrong and you were right. This is why you stay in the fight. You are waiting for an apology or a validation that is never going to come. The top 1% of men have trained themselves to completely murder this aspect of their ego. They understand that trying to force someone else to see the truth is a peasant game. A truly strong man does not need validation from a weak or chaotic person. He does not need the last word because his actions speak infinitely louder than any sentence he could construct. When you let go of the need to be right in the eyes of others, you unlock a massive reserve of personal freedom. You stop playing their rigged game entirely. Let them think they won. Let them tell whatever story makes them feel better at night. Their perception of you does not pay your bills, build your physique, or elevate your mind. Silence your ego, take the loss in their eyes, and secure the massive victory in your own reality. Guarding your most valuable asset. Time is the only currency in the universe that you can never earn back. You can lose $1 million and make it back the next year. You can lose your physical health and rebuild it in the gym. But every single second you spend arguing with a fool, trying to save a doomed project, or enduring disrespect, is a second that is gone forever. It is burned. It is vaporized. When you stay in situations that do not elevate you, you are actively burning the most valuable asset you possess. The elite man treats his time with borderline paranoia. He audits his hours like a ruthless billionaire audits his finances. Walking away is the ultimate defense mechanism for your time. The moment you realize a conversation is going nowhere, you exit. The moment you see a relationship is a black hole for your energy, you cut the cord. You do this not out of malice, but out of a profound respect for your own limited lifespan. Every minute you spend looking backward at a situation you should have left is a minute stolen from your future empire. Guard your time aggressively. If someone wants access to your hours, they must prove they are worthy of that investment. If they prove otherwise, you walk, no hesitation, no negotiation. The line you never let them cross. Respect is the foundational currency of all male interactions. Without it, you have nothing. The problem is that most men have incredibly weak boundaries. They set a boundary, someone steps over it, and instead of walking away, the man negotiates. He complains, he gets angry, he asks them not to do it again. But he stays. The moment you negotiate a boundary, it ceases to exist. It becomes merely a suggestion. Elite men operate on a completely different system. They do not fight for respect. They strictly enforce it through their absence. If someone disrespects you, the consequence should not be an argument. The consequence must be the immediate withdrawal of your attention and presence. You do not yell. You do not throw a tantrum. You simply look at them, realize they have crossed the line, and you remove their access to you. This sends a psychological shockwave that words can never achieve. It shows that you are completely willing to lose the relationship in order to keep your self-respect. When people realize that you are fully capable of walking away forever without batting an eye, they will naturally treat you with a level of caution and respect they reserve for kings. Tolerate zero disrespect, but do not waste your breath fighting it. Just leave. The poison in the soil. Imagine you have the seed of a giant redwood tree. This seed holds the genetic potential to grow hundreds of feet tall, to withstand storms, and to live for centuries. But if you plant that seed in soil that is contaminated with toxic waste, it does not matter how strong the seed is. It will rot, wither, and die. You are that seed. Your environment is the soil. You can read all the books on mental toughness, you can optimize your diet, and you can lift heavy weights every single day. But if you are surrounded by complainers, losers, manipulators, and people who constantly drain your ambition, your potential will be suffocated. You cannot outwork a toxic environment. You must uproot yourself. Walking away from a bad environment is the most critical survival mechanism you can learn. It means leaving the friend group that only wants to drink and complain about the economy. It means quitting the job where your boss actively suppresses your talent. It means moving out of the city that is dragging you down. You must become completely ruthless about curating the soil in which you plant yourself. If the soil is poison, you do not try to filter the poison, You pack up and you find fertile ground. Your growth depends entirely on the quality of your surroundings. The myth of the sunk cost. Human beings are deeply flawed when it comes to evaluating their investments. In psychology, there is a concept called the sunk cost fallacy. It is the irrational belief that because you have invested a lot of time, money, or emotion into something, you must stick with it, even if it is clearly failing. Men fall into this trap every single day. They say, "I cannot leave this relationship. We have been together for 5 years." Or, "I cannot quit this miserable career path. I spent 4 years in college studying for it." This is a fatal flaw in logic. The time and energy you spent is already gone. It is sunk. You cannot retrieve it by staying. In fact, by staying, you are just throwing good time after bad time. The superior thinker analyzes his life based on future potential, not past investments. He is willing to look at a 5-year relationship or a 10-year career, realize it is a dead end, and walk away on a random Tuesday without a second thought. It requires an iron stomach to walk away from a massive investment, but it is the only way to save your future. You are not losing 5 years. You are saving the next 30 years of your life. Drop the baggage. Cut the losses. Start fresh with the wisdom you gained from the failure. The deafening roar of silence. In a world where absolutely everyone is screaming to be heard, silence is the ultimate weapon of the elite. When someone wrongs you, manipulates you, or tries to draw you into their chaos, their primary goal is to trigger a reaction. They want you to yell, defend yourself, and lose your emotional center. They feed on your chaotic energy. But what happens when you simply walk away in complete and total silence? It destroys them internally. Silence is a mirror. When you refuse to react, you force the other person to sit alone with their own toxic behavior. You deny them the satisfaction of a fight. Your absence becomes a deafening roar that echoes in their mind. They will wonder what you are thinking. They will question their own actions, and they will feel the immense weight of your unbothered nature. This is why walking away must be done quietly. No dramatic exit speeches. No long text messages explaining why you are leaving. Over-explaining is a sign of weakness. It shows you still want them to understand you. The strong man just evaporates. He removes his energy from the equation entirely. Let your silence do the heavy lifting. It is far more intimidating and far more powerful than any words you could ever speak. Strategic retreat for massive growth. In military strategy, a general who constantly pushes his troops forward into a losing battle is considered a fool. The greatest military commanders in history understood the immense value of a tactical retreat. Walking away is not running away in fear. It is a strategic repositioning. When you face an obstacle that cannot be reasoned with, or a situation that drains your resources for zero gain, retreating is the only logical option. You pull your forces back. You conserve your energy. You analyze the battlefield from a distance. The average man views retreat as a blow to his pride. He thinks he must stand there and take heavy casualties just to prove his bravery. The elite man views retreat as a necessary step for future conquest. By walking away from the pointless skirmishes in your life, you consolidate your power. You redirect that energy into building your business, sculpting your body, and sharpening your mind. You are not fleeing. You are moving to higher ground. While your enemies are down in the mud, exhausting themselves in meaningless drama, you are sitting on the mountain, regaining your strength, and preparing for the real wars that actually matter. Reframe your exit. It is not a defeat. It is a calculated maneuver for absolute supremacy. Cutting the parasitic cords. Not everyone in your life wants to see you win. In fact, many of the people closest to you are secretly terrified of your growth. When you start building discipline, when you start rejecting degeneracy, the people around you will feel deeply uncomfortable. Their mediocrity feels attacked by your ambition. These people become parasites. They will try to drag you back down to their level through subtle mockery, emotional manipulation, or guilt trips. They will say you have changed, or that you are taking things too seriously. A weak man will yield to this pressure and lower his standards to keep his friends comfortable. The strong man recognizes the parasite and immediately reaches for the knife. You must be willing to walk away from people you have known for years if they become an anchor to your progress. This includes childhood friends, toxic family members, and romantic partners who do not align with your future. It sounds incredibly harsh, but greatness is a lonely path. You cannot drag dead weight to the top of the mountain. Cutting these cords is painful at first, but the surge of speed and momentum you gain afterward is absolutely intoxicating. Protect your ambition at all costs, even if it means leaving people behind. Conquering the solitude. The primary reason men refuse to walk away from toxic situations is a deep, unaddressed fear of being alone. Society has stigmatized solitude. We are conditioned to believe that if you are alone on a Friday night, you are a failure. So, men surround themselves with fake friends and superficial women just to create the illusion of value. But as long as you fear being alone, you will always be a slave to other people. You will tolerate disrespect because the alternative is sitting alone in an empty room. To join the top 1%, you must not only tolerate solitude, you must weaponize it. You must fall in love with the quiet. When you walk away from the noise, you finally have the space to hear your own thoughts. Solitude is the forge where elite men are created. In the absence of distractions, you are forced to face your own flaws, your own traumas, and your own potential. Once you realize that you can survive and thrive completely on your own, you become incredibly dangerous to the system. You no longer need anybody. And ironically, the moment you no longer need anyone, you become immensely attractive to everyone. Conquer the fear of isolation, and you will never be forced to accept a bad deal again. The ultimate emotional control. We live in an era where reactivity is the norm. Someone insults you online, you fire back. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you scream out the window. This constant reactivity is a sign of a weak nervous system and an undisciplined mind. When you react to every provocation, you are basically handing the remote control of your emotions to complete strangers. Walking away is the absolute peak of emotional control. Imagine a situation where someone is actively trying to provoke you. They hurl insults, they mock you, they try to get under your skin. The natural biological response is an adrenaline spike and an urge to destroy them. But instead, you take a deep breath, you maintain a neutral facial expression, you look them in the eye for a brief second, and you turn your back and walk out the door. The level of supreme self-command required to execute that move is staggering. It proves that your rational mind is the absolute master of your primal instincts. You prove to yourself and to the world that your emotional state is a fortress that cannot be breached by low-value behavior. This is the essence of modern Stoicism. You cannot control what fools say to you, but you have absolute tyrannical control over how you respond. the economics of your presence. Let us talk about the basic principles of economics. Supply and demand. When a resource is abundant and easy to get, its value drops to zero. Dirt is everywhere, so nobody pays for dirt. Gold is scarce, difficult to extract and hard to find, so it is extremely valuable. The exact same rule applies to your presence and your attention. If you are always available, if you always stay no matter how badly you are treated, your value in the eyes of others drops to absolute zero. You become the dirt. They know they can treat you poorly because you have an infinite supply of forgiveness and patience. By walking away, you instantly introduce massive scarcity into the dynamic. You withdraw the supply of your attention, and instantly, your value skyrockets. People do not respect what they are given for free. They respect what they have to earn, and they deeply respect what they have lost. When you remove yourself, they suddenly realize the gap you left behind. But do not walk away as a manipulation tactic just to make them miss you. Walk away because you genuinely recognize your own high value, and you refuse to distribute it for free. Become the gold. Make your presence an incredibly rare commodity. Funneling the rage into empire building. When you finally walk away from a toxic situation, you are not going to feel perfectly calm immediately. You are going to feel a massive surge of residual energy. You will feel anger, frustration, and the burning desire to prove them wrong. The average man takes this aggressive energy and wastes it. He drinks alcohol to numb it. He vents to his friends for hours, or he lashes out on social media. This is a pathetic waste of premium fuel. The elite man takes that dark, aggressive energy and funnels it directly into his own expansion. You use the anger as raw fuel for your workouts. You lift heavier. You run faster. You push harder. You use the frustration to stay up late building your business or acquiring a new high-income skill. Every time you feel the urge to look back or text that person, you channel that impulse into a productive action that makes you undeniably better. This is the alchemy of power. You are literally converting their toxicity into your success. Within 6 months, you will have built something incredible, and the situation you walked away from will look like a tiny dot in your rear-view mirror. Use the rage. Do not suppress it. Do not waste it. Weaponize it to build your empire. The difference between cowardice and stoic exit. We need to make a very clear distinction here. Walking away is not the same as ghosting out of fear. Ghosting is the tactic of a coward. It is what weak men do when they lack the spine to have a difficult conversation or state their boundaries. They run away quietly because they are terrified of conflict. A stoic departure is fundamentally different. The elite man does not run away from conflict. He evaluates it and deems it unworthy of his sword. If a situation requires a clear boundary, the strong man states it plainly. He looks the person in the eye and says, "This dynamic is entirely unacceptable to me, and I will no longer participate in it." And then he leaves. He does not stick around to debate the boundary. He delivers the verdict and executes the sentence immediately. It is conscious, deliberate, and powerful. You are not sneaking out the back door in the middle of the night. You are walking confidently out the front door, in broad daylight, fully owning your decision. Never confuse conflict avoidance with strategic detachment. One makes you a weak boy running from his problems. The other makes you a formidable man who dictates the terms of his own reality. Winning by refusing to play. The greatest trap in modern society is the illusion that you must participate in every game, that is placed in front of you. Social media outrage, office politics, gossiping friend groups, and manipulative relationships. These are all games with rigged rules designed to keep you emotionally exhausted and easily controlled. The average man tries to learn the rules and beat them at their own game. He tries to out-manipulate the manipulator. He tries to win the unwinnable argument. But the only real way to win a rigged game is to refuse to play entirely. When you walk away, you step off the board. You look at the chess match, you realize the pieces are poisoned, and you simply knock your own king over and leave the room. The players left at the table will be stunned. They will call you a quitter. They will try to provoke you to sit back down, because without you playing your role, their game falls apart. They need your reaction to feel powerful. By refusing to play, you take all the power for yourself. You elevate yourself above the maze entirely. You realize that true victory is not about destroying your opponent. It is about outgrowing the battlefield so completely that the opponent no longer even registers on your radar. Forcing respect through absence. Think about the most powerful men in history, or even the most influential people you know in your own life. They are rarely the loudest in the room. They do not beg for attention. They command respect through their heavy, grounded presence, and, more importantly, through their willingness to be absent. When a man knows deeply who he is and what he is worth, his absence becomes a heavy physical weight. If a business deal is slightly off, he walks. If a woman plays childish games, he disappears. If a friend disrespects his time, he cuts access. This creates a reputation. Word spreads quickly that you are a man of absolute, uncompromising standards. People will begin to interact with you differently. They will measure their words carefully. They will show up on time. They will drop the manipulation tactics because they know that one wrong move means they lose access to you permanently. You do not force respect by being a tyrant and yelling at people. You force respect by building a reputation as a man who will walk away without a single drop of hesitation. Your absence becomes your enforcer. It is a silent bodyguard that keeps the low-value behaviors far away from your life. Surviving the immediate aftermath. The theory of walking away sounds glorious and powerful, but the reality of the first few days is going to test every ounce of your discipline. When you finally pull the plug on a toxic relationship or quit the draining job, you will experience what psychologists call an extinction burst. Your brain, which is addicted to the familiar chaos, will panic. You will have moments of intense doubt. You will wonder if you made a massive mistake. The toxic person might suddenly act like an angel, promising that everything will change, desperately trying to pull you back in. This is the danger zone. This is where 99% of men fail and crawl back, completely destroying any respect they had left. You must anticipate this psychological withdrawal. When the urge to return hits you, you must anchor yourself to cold, hard logic. Write down exactly why you left. Read the list when you feel weak. Do not trust your emotions in the immediate aftermath, because your emotions are going through detox. You must stand firm like a stone pillar in a storm. Hold the line. If you can survive the first phase of the withdrawal without breaking your rule of no contact, the emotional chains will snap, and you will step into a level of freedom you have never experienced. The unbreakable modern Stoic. When you master the art of walking away, you undergo a profound psychological transformation. You shift from being a victim of circumstance to being the undeniable architect of your own reality. You no longer walk into a room hoping people will like you. You walk in wondering if you even like them. You stop fearing loss because you know that anything you can walk away from never truly owned you in the first place. You become the unbreakable modern Stoic, a man who is deeply grounded, incredibly calm, and ruthlessly protective of his energy. Your confidence goes through the roof because your confidence is no longer dependent on external validation. It is built on the undeniable proof that you will always choose your own self-respect over temporary comfort. This is the new baseline. You shed the dead weight, you burn the bridges that led to nowhere, and you stand tall in the empty space you created. The path ahead is clear. You have preserved your time, protected your sanity, and reclaimed your masculine power. The world steps aside for a man who knows exactly when to leave. You are no longer playing by their rules. You are writing your own. Your greatest growth does not happen in the safe confines of comfort, and it certainly does not happen while you are chained to a sinking ship just to prove you can swim. It happens the exact moment you turn your back on everything that drains your power, and you step confidently into the terrifying, beautiful void of your own potential. Never forget that your presence is the highest privilege you can offer this world. Stop giving it away to people and situations that do not recognize its immense value. Protect your time, master your emotions, and possess the ruthless discipline to walk away when the game is no longer yours to play. Thank you for watching. If this video shifted your perspective, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and join the 1% of men who are building unbreakable minds. Now, I want you to make a commitment right now. Drop a comment below with one word, detached, to prove you made it to the end and that you are ready to reclaim your power. Stay strong, stay disciplined, and never negotiate your self-respect.